Well, first, this was a terrible decision, and I am encouraged with the dissenting of view, which I think makes it clear that states have the right to set up separate sports teams between men and women. And for eternity, we've been doing that. And now we get to a point where a legislature draws the distinction and categorizes men and women on the basis of where they occur at birth. If you're biologically male or biologically female, that's how this law was set up. It's right, it's just, and I think as this goes up through the process, it's going to prevail. And it's important that it does, because what the other side is trying to do is to utterly blur the distinctions between sex. They're trying to create new classes of protections that don't exist under the law. And when that happens, it's not only sports that's going to be threatened, it's going to be locker rooms, it's going to be changing rooms, and anything that ultimately involves men and women participating together.
You know, AG, there's been some video that's circulating showing middle school female athletes who are competing in shot put, and instead of participating, they step up to the plate and then they walk away because they don't believe it's fair to compete against a biological male. Ultimately, though, they're not going to have or see themselves on the scoreboard because they've stepped away. Is that really what women are going to have to do to send a message when it comes to their dissatisfaction with how these rulings are going?
Well, first of all, I stand with these young female athletes, and I will continue to defend them because I think that they're fighting for all the right reasons. And I'm going to make sure they know that the Attorney General of West Virginia will always have their back. But I think what they're doing sends a powerful message. You have a court that got it completely wrong. And so you have a lot of these athletes who know the basic unfairness of it. And so these kids are stepping up to do what adults have not been able to do. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to work with them to make sure they know. I mean, these are these issues that are at stake. We shouldn't have to resort to kids doing it. But I will say this, if we really want to make a difference, we're going to keep fighting all the way on the legal battles. But I think we should have these walkouts. It makes a lot of sense because this is inherently about fairness between boys and girls, men and women. Title IX was never intended to actually disqualify or displace female athletes. This is just the opposite of reality and common sense. And so we're going to keep going in the courts, but having a national walkout day, I think, is a really powerful thing. And I know in West Virginia, we're going to lead the way because West Virginia conservative values, we know the differences between men and women. We know it's unfair for hulking males to walk around the locker room or compete. Men and women are different. And we saw through the evidence we submitted, despite some of the hormone blockers these guys are taking, the reality is men on average are stronger and faster, and all the evidence suggests that. Let's not have another crazy decision, and we have to hold the line now.
Do you have any desire to see this? And I know it's isolated to this specific event, but it can set precedent. Do you have any desire to see this move to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, we're looking at that right now. We're going to have an announcement coming up very soon, but I do think that ultimately the Supreme Court is going to be in a position to right the wrong. And you saw what just happened earlier this week, where an Idaho law that's in place that's designed to protect kids from mutilation, that the Supreme Court's allowing that to go forward as the case develops. I think it's important that there is a distinction between the High Court and the Fourth Circuit. Look, we've had some pretty errant and unusual decisions coming out of the Fourth Circuit. I want to make sure at the end of the day, we're getting the right call, and the Supreme Court would seem to be the best place to go.
Yeah. One of the justices, though, in the confirmation hearing, Ketanji Brown Jackson, struggling to define what a woman was. So we'll be watching to see if
you have to keep fighting
that.
and not allow this to happen. The stakes are too high.